When women come to me asking how they know if they're in some sort of caloric deficit, they come to me with this question expecting a result of you take this pill and you know you're in a caloric deficit. You look at this chart and then you know you're in a caloric deficit. This is completely false and opposite from the truth. There are many different ways to tell if your body physiologically is in a caloric deficit, which we are going to go through, but if you're looking for a definitive answer, it does not exist. In fact, to know if you're in a caloric deficit, you do not need detox teas, you don't need waist trainers, you don't need raspberry ketones. What you do need is patience and consistency. If you haven't stuck to your caloric deficit, haven't stuck to the plan, haven't done the diet or program for at least 90 days with 80% consistency, you have no right to say that a caloric deficit does not work. These factors that I'm going to discuss are not going to appear all at once. So taking time to recognize which ones are happening immediately versus which ones are taking their time to develop are great indications that yes, you are probably in a caloric deficit. Number one, your weight, your pant size, your photos, your measurements are all indicators if you're in a caloric deficit or not. So oftentimes I'm going to see clients, okay, and they have lost inches, but their scale weight hasn't moved. I am thrilled about this. You want to know why? It's because they are losing fat, but still maintaining or even gaining some muscle. Muscle is denser than fat is and takes up a little less space, but is heavier, right? So therefore, it's not going to reflect directly on the scale. But if if you're measuring your stomach or your waist area and can see changes going in, and like the measurements are going down, that means you are losing fat. If your weight stays the same, but your pictures look better, you're in a caloric deficit. For example, if you are eating 2,200 calories because that's what your online calculator said so, and you did it for a few weeks or a month or two or something, and your pant sizes are not going down, you're still not fitting into your clothes, your pictures aren't looking better, your weight is not going down, chances are that is not a caloric deficit, okay? And that calculation wasn't meant for you. So that means you're in a caloric surplus or you're maybe at maintenance, okay? So you'd have to reduce your calories a little bit more so that, maybe you do feel a little bit hungry and you do see improvements over time. Another indication that you're in a deficit is if you are hungry. Yes, hunger is a good thing. Too much hunger too soon is a bad thing because, your metabolism is going to plummet and your energy output won't be as high, and therefore, you can't burn as many calories per day because you're so drained, you're tired, because your body's not getting enough food. So it's really important to know how many calories at the beginning of the deficit you are eating and slowly taper it down. The higher amount of calories you start with on your deficit, the better you can adhere to it in the long run. And over time, with patience and consistency, you can see great results. Why I say this is a lot of people try to scare you into, thinking that, oh my gosh, you're gonna be starving, you are gonna go into starvation mode, you're not going to be able to live your life, and I want you to realize that this is completely normal. It's okay to feel hungry. In fact, you should probably get used to it if your goals are big enough, if you want to, really change your body. Because especially if you are in a productive caloric deficit, you should not be in a caloric deficit for too long. Because if you are, that's when it can have really negative side effects. But know that hunger is okay. In fact, the more you can embrace the suck, the better you will be because you'll feel more determined. You're going to see more changes happening, but you have to take things with an open-minded approach as well. This is good for me. right? This is going to help me towards my goal. So let's say you're really trying your hardest and you're on top of your calories, you're tracking what you are eating, and your pant size is not going down, but you are not hungry. Chances are you are not in a caloric deficit. Another way you can tell you're in a caloric deficit is if your extremities, your hands and your feet become a little bit colder. This is completely normal because you don't have as much fat, as much insulation on your hands, on your fingers to keep you nice and warm. Another reason is if you are tired. You're on lower calories. You are burning through whatever food you are eating, right? So it's completely normal to feel tired and maybe, not have as much energy, right? Because you're expending yourself, you're not eating as much. But no, it's okay. It's only for a short period of time, and you shouldn't sustain this for a long time. These are signs that you are in a caloric deficit for too long. Number one, ladies, if you lose your period, your hormones are fucked and you have to get out of that caloric deficit and speak to your doctor, an endocrinologist, okay? And you have to go get that checked out, okay? Second thing is if you're experiencing hair loss. This is often because you may not be getting enough vitamins, minerals. I would also suggest getting a blood test. And number three is, if you are really in a caloric deficit, I'm talking maybe 800 calories, and you're experiencing some sort of weight gain, or you're at a plateau, not seeing any weight loss, that is metabolic adaptation happening, okay? And this is a point where doing a further caloric deficit will do more harm than good. Saying this is because too much of a caloric deficit can lead to all those negative side effects. It can lead to lower sex drive, muscle loss, bone density loss. It can lead to missed periods, all of those things if you are doing it inappropriately. There's no tool that you can use to definitively tell you if you're in a caloric deficit, but taking all the factors that I talked about today can give you a really good general idea if you are headed in the right direction. However, seeing, the extreme side of a caloric deficit may steer you in the wrong direction. So it's important to take this with a grain of salt, okay? And talk to your coach or get some expert advice on how to do it properly and adequately. That's it for me, guys. Make sure to give this video a big thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, follow me on Instagram, and I'll see you next time. Bye.